Imagine a world where knowledge flows freely, where monopolies are challenged, and where the impossible becomes reality. Long before the internet as we know it existed, Phil Salin envisioned a decentralized, open world, one where technology, innovation, and competition could empower individuals and drive humanity forward. Phil was a futurist, an economist, and a radical thinker who dared to challenge the status quo. His groundbreaking ideas laid the foundation for e-commerce, inspired open-source software, and even paved the way for private space exploration companies like SpaceX. He believed in breaking down monopolies, exposing inefficiencies, and fostering competitive landscapes to spur progress and innovation. This documentary will explore Phil's visionary contributions to decentralization, economic innovation, and technological openness. From shaping the early internet to transforming public perceptions of industries controlled by governments, Phil's story is one of resilience, creativity, and a relentless drive to empower individuals. Chapter 1. Roots of a Visionary. Phil Salin was born on February 9, 1950, in Hollywood, California. He spent most of his childhood in San Rafael, Marin County, a quiet community that had yet to become the cultural hub it is today. He grew up during a pivotal time in American history, filled with both hope and significant challenges. The United States was moving past the aftermath of World War II. It was entering the ideological and geopolitical struggle of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. This era was shaped by military rivalries and key national debates on civil rights, individual freedom, technological progress, and balancing security with innovation. Furthermore, the United States took bold steps in the space race, with NASA's creation in 1958, symbolizing innovation and a drive to explore new frontiers. Phil's father, Lothar Salin, worked as a printer and was deeply engaged in public interest activism. During America's rapid urban and industrial expansion, he focused on environmental conservation and helped preserve natural spaces like Point Reyes National Seashore. Lothar was a passionate supporter of the general semantics movement. This philosophy studied how language and systems shape human understanding and behavior. This philosophy greatly influenced Phil's upbringing. It introduced him to ideas about equality, liberty, and the power of communication to drive societal change. Phil's mother, Marjorie Helen, brought warmth and stability to their home, balancing the intellectual intensity. Phil was always fascinated by his heritage and took pride in learning about his ancestors and their accomplishments. His grandfather, Edgar Salin, was a historian, economist, and philosopher at the University of Basel in Switzerland. Edgar's leadership at the Historical School of Political and Social Philosophy explored how history, culture, and economics shaped societies. He collaborated with influential thinkers like Friedrich Hayek, Joseph Schumpeter, and Karl Jaspers, each of whom left a lasting legacy on global intellectual thought. Hayek advocated for the power of markets and the dangers of centralized planning. Schumpeter explored the dynamics of capitalism and innovation, and Jaspers placed human freedom at the center of his existential philosophy. Phil's great-great-uncle, Jacob Schiff, was also a renowned financier recognized for his contributions to banking and philanthropy. Stories of Schiff's influence reinforced Phil's growing interest in Austrian economics, particularly the works of Ludwig von Mises and Friedrich Hayek. This philosophy emphasized the importance of decentralized decision-making and the free flow of information. Phil took pride in his paternal lineage and the Salin family name, which he often traced back to Solomon, hinting at a possible Jewish heritage. These early influences, shaped by his heritage and the legacy of his ancestors, laid the foundation for the character and ideas we're about to uncover. Chapter 2. From Fiction to Foundations. As Phil entered his teenage years, his love for imagination and learning began to shine. He was a tall, curious individual with a deep passion for science fiction. The bold and thought-provoking works of Robert Heinlein, such as The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and Poul Anderson, like The High Crusade, deepened his understanding of liberty and individualism. Heinlein's stories explore self-governance, individual liberty, and resistance against tyranny as lunar colonists fight for their independence using ingenuity and decentralized cooperation, while Poul Anderson tells the story of English knights who capture an alien spaceship, showcasing how human ingenuity and determination can triumph over advanced technology. Often described as nerdy, Phil dreamed of a future where creativity and innovation could overcome any challenge. As a teenager, Phil Salin was enthralled by the futuristic vision of Star Trek and the epic world of The Lord of the Rings. These stories shaped his ideas about trust, forging alliances, and the challenges of wielding great power. This passion led him to California's vibrant community of science fiction writers and special effects artists, where creativity and imagination flourished. At the same time, NASA's groundbreaking missions, Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo, captured the world's attention, culminating in the moon landing of 1969. For Phil, this era of exploration paralleled the golden age of science fiction, strengthening his belief that technology was a gateway to limitless possibilities and the expansion of humanity's potential. Phil's love of storytelling extended to comic books, with one of his proudest accomplishments being his complete collection of Donald Duck comics. He also had a deep appreciation for classical music, captivated by its intricate structures and the way it brought harmony out of complexity. These passions led him to UCLA in 1967 to study economics and music. But the sweeping technological advancements of the time were about to introduce Phil to a world of possibilities few could have imagined. Chapter 3: Pioneering a New Era. At UCLA, Phil surrounded himself with a circle of highly creative and original thinkers, fostering an environment that fueled his ambition to connect theory with real-world problems. During this time, he began to recognize the potential of emerging technologies such as internet communication. Phil realized that the internet could be used as a tool to challenge centralized power for individual privacy and freedom. Phil's work at UCLA's Computer Center placed him at the forefront of technological progress. He was there during a historic moment, the arrival of the BBN box from Cambridge, Massachusetts, the first computer server marking the beginning of the Internet. This groundbreaking development reflected Phil's growing passion for innovative systems and hinted at his future efforts to design technologies that could decentralize control and revolutionize information sharing. The late 1960s was an era of rapid advancements in technology. Early computers and programming languages were transforming data processing and communication. Innovations like satellite-based telecommunications and early messaging systems began paving the way for global connectivity. The development of time-sharing systems, which allowed multiple users to access a single computer, laid the groundwork for the modern Internet. These advancements deepened Phil's belief in the power of technology to decentralize communication, reduce costs, and empower individuals, ideas that would shape his work for years to come. At the time, cryptography was primarily a government tool used for military and intelligence purposes during the Cold War, with the National Security Agency, NSA, centralizing control over its use. Since its founding in 1952, the NSA had expanded its role, becoming a global leader in cryptography and electronic surveillance, leveraging emerging computer technologies to intercept and decode vast amounts of data. Phil and his friends began exploring the potential of encryption to protect individual privacy. These discussions about using technology to counter centralized authority sparked Phil's lifelong fascination with systems that could empower individuals and promote freedom. While studying at UCLA, Phil Salin met Gail Pergamit, an ambitious woman determined to become a partner at Price Waterhouse, a leading accounting and consulting firm. they formed a lifelong bond, becoming both romantic and business partners, sharing a deep connection in their personal and professional journeys. Together with Gail, Phil was confident to launch his career and disrupt and break up the world's largest company. Chapter 4: Breaking Up a Giant. After earning his Bachelor of Arts in Economics in 1971, Phil returned to his hometown to explore different career paths. He joined Systems Applications and Technologies, Inc., and contributed to a groundbreaking economic research study, exploring how competition could transform the phone industry. His work came at a time when criticism of AT&T's monopoly under President Ronald Reagan's push for deregulation and private sector innovation was reaching its peak. As the largest company in the world, AT&T controlled local and long-distance telephone services, owning the infrastructure and blocking competitors. This monopoly led to high costs, limited innovation, and few choices for consumers. In his 1975 study, Phil Salin predicted that deregulation would lower long-distance rates but raise local rates. Many in the industry ridiculed his findings, but AT&T eventually admitted they were accurate. This marked the first time AT&T acknowledged pricing above cost and became a key moment in the push for deregulation. Salin's work helped pave the way for AT&T's breakup in 1984, ending its monopoly as the world's largest company. His advocacy for competition and market-driven solutions spurred innovation, lowered costs, and improved access to telecommunications. While conducting his research, Phil Salin began his professional career as a programmer at Bechtel Financing Services in the early 1970s. During his time there, he developed a precursor to the spreadsheet software, a groundbreaking tool that streamlined data analysis and financial calculations. This innovation highlighted his ability to merge technical and economic insights, demonstrating a talent for creating practical solutions to complex problems. Phil realized that to advance his quest to empower individuals, he needed formal business training to apply his economic ideals. What he didn't yet know was that he was about to challenge one of the most untouchable government monopolies, a feat no one thought an individual could achieve. Thank you for joining Ratio Freedom. If you've enjoyed the video so far, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It really helps spread my stories. Don't forget to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Chapter 5: Pioneering a New Space Economy. After leaving Bechtel, Phil Salin and his wife, Gail Pergamut, embarked on an exciting new chapter by pursuing MBAs at Stanford University. It was here that their shared curiosity about space exploration began to take shape. When they attended a seminar on space colonization, they were captivated by the potential of the topic, but frustrated by its lack of practicality. The discussion, though intriguing, seemed disconnected from real-world economics and business realities. Determined to bring a more informed perspective to the conversation, they co-founded the Stanford Center for Space Development, a student group dedicated to fostering serious and realistic discussions about the future of space. The center invited expert guest lecturers and delved into the space industry, uncovering a stark reality. Most space technologies were rooted in military applications. This insight became even more apparent with the rise of Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, often referred to as Star Wars, which aimed to build a space-based defense system to counter nuclear threats. These developments underscored the dominance of government in space exploration and highlighted the challenges private enterprise would face in breaking into the field. Reflecting on these discoveries, Phil remarked with a grin, "We found the classic test case for the theories I had been studying and developing." For Phil, the exploration of space economics became more than academic. It was a chance to put bold ideas into practice. After earning his MBA from Stanford University, Phil Salin focused on the space industry. The intense Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union highlighted the need for smarter, more innovative solutions in space exploration. NASA, which held a monopoly on the field, tightly controlled costs, technology, and accessibility. However, its operations were often criticized for inefficiency and high costs, leaving room for new ideas to reshape the future of space. In 1980, Salin, Gail Pergamut, and James Bennett founded Starstruck in Redwood City. Their goal was to create cost-effective space transportation and push the boundaries of innovation. Salin's vision wasn't just about business. It was about challenging the status quo and proving that new approaches could advance space exploration. His efforts marked an important step toward a more dynamic and forward-thinking space industry. Their research revealed a staggering miscalculation. Demand for space transportation was far greater than expected. Salin's team concluded that they could deliver these services at 50 to 75% less than the costs of government-led efforts. With ambitious goals, they aimed to provide affordable space transportation services, including launching satellites and ferrying supplies to space stations with the ultimate dream of deploying their own satellites. "We had two goals, to do it and make money at it, and to prove that others could do it," Salin explained, reflecting his belief in the potential of innovative solutions to drive progress. Phil Salin concentrated on creating low-cost rocket launches using sea-launched hybrid rockets. His company, Starstruck, centered its efforts on the Dolphin mission, an experimental rocket designed to launch from a floating canister at sea using a mix of solid fuel and liquid oxygen. On August 3, 1984, Starstruck launched the Dolphin from San Clemente Island. While the launch showcased the feasibility of sea-launched hybrid rockets, a thrust vector control failure caused the rocket to veer off course just 14 seconds into the flight, forcing the mission to be terminated. Though it was Starstruck's only launch, the attempt demonstrated the potential for new ideas in space exploration. Meanwhile, NASA's Space Shuttle program struggled with high costs, technical challenges, and limited accessibility. The tragic Challenger explosion in 1986 further exposed its inefficiencies and highlighted the risks out of its monopoly over space exploration. NASA's reliance on taxpayer funding and bureaucratic delays made space progress slow and expensive. The ongoing U.S.-Soviet space race amplified the need for innovation and advanced private space technology. Phil's in-depth research into NASA's operations uncovered major inefficiencies. In a testimony before the House Space Science and Application Subcommittee on February 28, 1984, he revealed that NASA's reported cost of $71 million per launch was vastly underestimated, with actual costs ranging between $200 and $250 million. These hidden subsidies stifled competition from private alternatives like the Atlas and Delta rockets, paving the way for future private ventures. These hidden costs and subsidies allowed NASA to underbid private competitors for government contracts. But by the time projects were completed, they often ran over budget, funded by taxpayer money. Salin emphasized that lowering the cost of access to space was crucial for human development and progress. He famously stated, "If it had cost $2 million to send a man across the Atlantic, imagine how long it would have taken to explore, settle, and develop America." His advocacy played a key role in the Reagan administration's decision to end NASA's monopoly, enabling private companies such as Orbital Sciences, Rocket Lab, SpaceX, and Blue Origin to shape the future of space exploration. Phil's contributions to space exploration showcased the height of his problem-solving abilities, yet his visionary mindset pushed him further. His next endeavor would lay the groundwork for e-commerce at a time when the Internet was still in its infancy. Chapter 6: The Online Marketplace of Ideas. After his ventures in the space industry, Phil Salin turned his attention to the inefficiencies in the information economy and marketplace. In the 1980s, institutions like the Library of Congress, universities, and corporate research centers controlled the flow of knowledge, constrained by rigid hierarchical structures that restricted access and excluded many from participation. For-profit consulting firms and publishers, such as McKinsey and Company, acted as gatekeepers, limiting expertise to those who could afford it. Recognizing the transformative potential of the Internet and communication networks, Salin saw an opportunity to apply decentralization principles to democratize the exchange of knowledge and information. In the mid-1980s, Phil Salin founded the American Information Exchange, a pioneering dial-up platform designed as a digital marketplace for the buying and selling of knowledge, information, and intellectual services. Inspired by Friedrich Hayek's concept of spontaneous order, AMIX sought to empower personal decision-making over centralized control. Salin envisioned AMIX as a system that could eventually expand to include goods and services, enabling individuals to monetize their expertise and exchange ideas directly. AMIX was designed to revolutionize global markets by reducing transaction costs and reshaping the labor economy, serving as a precursor to modern platforms like eBay, Amazon, and Upwork. During the 1980s, the Internet was a limited tool used mainly by researchers, government agencies, and a small number of institutions connected to a basic text-based network. Communication tools existed, but were expensive and difficult to use. Amid this environment, AMIX introduced forward-thinking ideas like e-commerce and early concepts of smart contracts, laying the groundwork for many tools we rely on today in the digital age. At the same time, efforts like Project Xanadu and the World Wide Web sought to revolutionize how people accessed and shared information. Ted Nelson's Project Xanadu aimed to create a system where digital content was permanently linked, ensuring creators could be credited and compensated. In contrast, Tim Berners-Lee's World Wide Web simplified navigation and sharing by introducing URLs and HTTP, which eventually became the backbone of the modern Internet. Phil saw Project Xanadu as a natural complement to AMIX, sharing the goal of democratizing information on the Internet. Together, Salin believed they could create a dynamic, interconnected world of information where knowledge was accessible and creators were rewarded. While pursuing these monumental projects, Salin was diagnosed with liver cancer. With precious time remaining, Phil devoted himself to the profound philosophy of a decentralized web, embedding the groundbreaking idea that code is speech, a legacy destined to ignite a movement and reshape the fight for freedom in the digital age. Chapter 7: Freedom of Speech in Code. As the Internet advanced, concerns about privacy and data security grew. Early communication systems were unencrypted and easily intercepted. Cryptography, once used only by the military and government, began transitioning to civilian use. It became a double-edged sword, a tool for protecting privacy and decentralizing power, but also a means for governments to enhance surveillance and control. This duality resonated with Phil Salin's advocacy for open systems and decentralized control, as he envisioned cryptography as a force to empower individuals rather than reinforce centralized authority. In his final years, this tension between freedom and control deeply influenced his work and legacy. In his 1991 essay, Freedom of Speech in Software, Phil Salin opposed software patents on free speech grounds, claiming a government monopoly over the use of certain ideas in software was exactly equivalent to censorship of literary ideas. This was the first application of the concept of freedom of speech to software. While Salin opposed software patents, he supported copyrights, recognizing their role in protecting original works and ensuring creators were fairly credited and compensated. His stance on software patents reflected a broader movement shaping the tech industry's views on intellectual property, particularly influencing the principles behind open-source software. Phil Salin's groundbreaking ideas on software, decentralization, and open systems were rooted in his unwavering belief that technology had the power to liberate humanity. Tragically, Salin passed away in 1991 at the young age of 41 after battling cancer, leaving the world just before the implementation of the World Wide Web. Phil's groundbreaking ideas became the seeds for a world of advancements, inspiring a new generation of innovators to push the boundaries of technology and freedom, shaping the digital age that we're about to explore. Chapter 8: A Digital Constitution: Property, Privacy, and Freedom. Phil Salin's work helped inspire the Cypherpunk movement, founded in 1992 by Eric Hughes, Timothy C. May, and John Gilmore. This group of technologists and activists aim to use cryptography and decentralized systems to protect privacy, promote freedom, and challenge centralized authority. The Cypherpunk mailing list became a hub for influential figures and projects, including Julian Assange, Tor, and PGP, shaping the fight for digital empowerment. In 1993, Eric Hughes published the Cypherpunk Manifesto, highlighting the need for privacy and decentralized technologies to preserve individual freedom in the digital age. This vision birthed the concept of a secure, peer-to-peer, low-cost, decentralized digital currency, enabling borderless, deflationary, open-source, private, and censorship-resistant transactions. Decades later, Bitcoin emerged as the embodiment of these ideals. It became a tool for financial autonomy, offering freedom in a world increasingly dominated by surveillance and centralized control. Phil Salin was among the few thinkers referenced in John Perry Barlow's influential Magna Carta for the Knowledge Age, a manifesto advocating for freedom and individual empowerment in the digital era. Barlow's call to reimagine governance and economics highlighted Salin's enduring impact on the foundations of the knowledge economy. Salin's intellectual journey was deeply shaped by the teachings of great philosophers and economists who inspired his libertarian ideals. Together, these ideas formed the foundation of Salin's lifelong dedication to empowering individuals through technology and innovation. Thank you for making it to the end of this journey through the life and legacy of Phil Salin, a visionary who reshaped how we think about freedom in the digital age. If you enjoyed this story, I invite you to watch my documentary on Julian Assange, a relentless freedom fighter who exposed war crimes, challenged secrecy, and redefined the battle for truth in the modern era.